When Bitcoin was dumping these last couple of weeks, you'd expect the alts to be down way more than what they were. Just an interesting thought. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition. How many times have we been debated by alt season, but we'll see. Looks a tiny bit different. Yeah, the ETH one did get front run. Yep. It is what it is, but that's why you always have to look at Biddy first, right? Always look at Biddy first. All right. So you guys know what I'm probably going to say, right? Really good fluidity from the bulls so far. You know, these dumps were pretty vicious, so if you got scared, I don't blame you. I am a little bit... I'm not going to be as nice to you, because I did call this, you know, since the beginning of the summer, pretty much since we were here, I called this level. It took forever to come through, but it finally did come to fruition. So the FOMO rally boys, the Moon boys, got absolutely slaughtered in the last couple weeks. We came back to reality. We tested it. I gotta say, man, that's pretty nice fluidity. Doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. It could still fail, but certainly very happy with it. I really can't complain. So on the way back up, let's take a look. You've got some fragile market structure and you've got some things that are not tested yet. So we've got plenty of instances where we have sort of these equal highs, more locally, just before that last drop down. So pretty much, you know, this weekend at around 97K, we got plenty of equal highs stacked up. We've got some more up here, right? We got some more up here. And then this one was pretty good fluidity. So you could argue that it's already done. When it's already done, if you return to these highs, then you're likely going to take out the high that created it. So honestly, we have a lot of smooth sailing ahead if we can actually hold this. I don't blame you if you're a little bit skeptical that we're going to hold this, because every time we've had a rally on Bitcoin on this way down, it hasn't really, you know, really maintained it. Kind of just gets slaughtered, right? I have more confidence in this rally, though, than the previous ones. The reason being is because yielding to that high time frame level that came to us all the way from the beginning of the year. So what we want to see next is, you know, if we can clear out up here all these highs at around 96, 97, then we want to see if there's an imbalance of supply and demand. This is where you could get your refill, right? So if we see something like this, shorts get squeezed out, but there's not enough demand on the spot market, then we look for the fluidity on the local. That's sitting around 93 even. So if this fails, retest at 93 even. We build a nice little structure on the local, pair it with a high time frame. That's a chef's kiss move. And then we can rally even higher. We don't need to see a failure here, but this would be the first stop on the train if we are to see one. You know, it could happen before that, right? Particularly with all this dumping and seeing all these rallies fail. I'm not saying it can't, but as far as high probability, you know, where could you add on to shorts? There's going to be a little bit more of the passive approach would be at around 97 or above 97. More specifically 97.5, but you know, you can see in the illustration where that is approximately. Like I said, this stuff up here is done. You know, it had good fluidity. Don't get me wrong. And as a result of that, we saw a pretty big dump come out of the market. Now, the silver lining to that is if we can return to it, this is at around 104.5. If we can return to it, it means that we're likely to break the bearish structure. And then if we can break the bearish structure here, then, you know, we've got a lot of runway, because there's some cheeky stuff left, like this one. It's kind of cheeky. And around 114, because we had a front run of liquidity here. So it wasn't a proper test, which usually means that we're going to dive into the liquidity. But the good news is usually when that happens, when you have a high that's so close to it, normally you start to build equal highs again. In this case, that would be the third equal high, right? So you have this one, and then this one. So because the invalidation's on shorts here, you can dive into the liquidity. It shouldn't be a perfect wick. We actually don't have a lot of really areas where we could see a perfect wick for the bears. So if the bulls can maintain strength here, this recovery could happen really quickly. Of course, we want to see the S&P do well. The S&P, you know, we got a lot talked about today with the stock market and the volatility index, but yeah, so we're in one of those situations again where the only thing that can really throw a wrench in this rally is going to be the stock market showing weakness, which, to be fair, there's some concerning things to look for on the stock market right now, which would be kind of upsetting, because when you see really good fluidity like this on Bitcoin, it's kind of a pain in the ass, right? Like, the Bitcoin bulls do what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do. And then, you know, negative market sentiment coming in from the stock market would be the thing that could really fuck it. But yeah, we saw some cheeky stuff here, man, like a failure of pretty clean divergence. Got pretty violent, but it didn't hit our target just yet. And as of yesterday, it hit our target quite nicely. Since then, a lot of conviction on the order book, right? Check this out, man. Look at all these huge sells coming in right in the pocket. We hold the pocket, and then huge buys coming in. So we're kind of seeing that strong accumulation into this FOMO, right? So accumulation gets grabbed, and then now we got FOMO coming in because maybe they missed that entry. As you can see, that there's not really much icebergs on the top side of the market, which is good. So, you know, liquidity, at least with resting icebergs, has sort of retreated for now. I'm sure they'll pop up soon. Certainly if we go higher, we'll get some topside icebergs that'll come into the market for sure. But liquidity is pretty solid right now. It's pretty deep. It's pretty clean. And yeah, like I said, we're seeing a good amount of market smashing coming in on the buy side, which we really haven't seen on the way down, at least not to this kind of conviction, right? Like we've seen instances of these sort of hourlies that have more buyers than sellers, but we haven't really seen that conviction coming in like we saw on the low side here. You know, once we hit that area of fluidity. Of course, iceberg started to set up shop. This isn't as deep as I've seen before in terms of finding a bottom and seeing random demand slam into the market. The big difference here is how clean the fluidity is, though. So, you know, we've seen these sort of previous bottoms on Bitcoin where a lot of random icebergs will start setting up shop really quickly, more so than what I'm seeing here. But I sort of mitigate that concern with the fact that the fluidity was so nice. And of course, this is just Binance, right? So we have other exchanges that set up shop at the lows as well. And since then, like I said, we're seeing FOMO come in now because it's one of those first rallies we've seen in a while where it didn't just fucking go straight back down, right? How many rallies did you see on the way down that just got absolutely torched right when sort of formed the Bart Simpson pattern and then just went straight back down? This one hasn't been the case so far. I'm not saying it can't be the case. It certainly could. But it's already showing a lot of strength so far, which is a good sign, right? As far as liquidities, I mean, you still get a lot of people who are scared. When fear is this high, you're going to have a lot of, you know, shorters that are still going to jump into the market. And this sort of adds fuel to the upward move. But again, every upward move that we're going to have, I'm going to need to see a lot of spot demand coming in. The difference this time, though, is I'm going to be a little bit less stringent. If you guys have been here the last couple of weeks, I told you every time we see a rally on Bitcoin, I'm going to be very critical of it. And for good reason. I mean, you guys saw there was a lot of dumping. But now that we've hit the area that I really wanted to see us hit and we held it with good fluidity, I can be a little bit nicer to Bitcoin in terms of, you know, how stringent I am on these rallies. I actually think it's looking a lot better. Certainly a lot better than the last couple of weeks because I want to see, you know, when the big battle takes place, when the important battle takes place, you know, what happens and how decisive of a victory is it. I think it's pretty easy to say this was so far. I mean, we're out of the woods, but that's a pretty fucking decisive victory, man. I mean, it tagged it to the fucking T, right? So, you know, I'm not saying that we're out of the woods. Anything can fucking happen on the market, but I mean, it's a pretty damn good sign if you want to see this sort of rally that we've maintained for the last couple of years continue. This was the pocket. This was the fight. And, you know, it looks pretty good so far. Still got a ways to go. Still need to hold local structures. If we're not going to yield to the local structure, then technically the next spot on the high time frame would be a sniper as well, which we're above right now, which is around 91.2. So, you know, obviously we want to look at the high time frame, look at what happened in January, and then marry that to the local if it's, you know, important. So a couple key areas like high time frame structure, next one to hold would technically be 91.2. But if this thing is really that bullish in recovery, then they might not give that to you as an add-on. They could give you an add-on at 93 flat though, depending on what happens up here. But you know, as bearish as it was on the way down, technically there was some fragile structure left behind. There's plenty of instances where we see equal highs. And the instances where we don't see equal highs, it's most of those structures already done. So going back to those structures means that they're likely to get fractured on the bearish side. So bearish structures already formed, strong bearish structures. If we can return to them, it starts to show cracks in the bearish structure, and then starts to break for the bears on their side. And then that's where we could see the sort of reversal happen. Is that a 4-hour resistance here? What do you mean 4-hour resistance? I don't see any resistance right now. Maybe on the lower time frame, but not on the 4-hour. And these icebergs are pretty consistent, so now the question is, does the FOMO continue? I mean, we certainly have seen it on the order books, right? You can't deny that the FOMO is coming in on the order books, particularly after a, hey, you can call it accumulation, absorption, whatever you want to call it. But at the lows, we certainly had a lot of selling coming in, and you'd think the price would get hit even harder. But bids definitely put up a fight there, man. It was, you guys probably saw it happen live on your own end, but certainly was a fight that took place, and it wasn't that clean, okay? Like, the test was really clean, but the low time frame, we did leave behind equal lows, which is no bueno. But we've seen that happen plenty of times in the past. And there's another instance where we left behind equal lows. But this is something that's just becoming a lot more common. Just like how we left behind a bunch of equal highs on the way down. We're starting to do that on the way on the bottom side. So that's not good, right? That's rather bearish to leave behind all those equal lows. But they don't really become a big concern until we get back to them. Once we're back to them, yeah, then it's quite concerning. But until then, it's sort of this new meta that we've seen been playing out the last couple of years of equal highs, equal lows, holding for some godforsaken reason, and just either continuation or most of the time continuation. It really matters, where you are at the high time frame though, because that's going to dictate a lot of the movement on the low time frame, as you guys know. 4-hour hidden bear div for another add-on probably wouldn't be given because of the strength though. Yeah, it might. If it comes in sooner than later, Tom, then the area to look for would be 91.2. If it doesn't come in until later, then it would be 93 flat. Urban, they trap bulls, brother. Dude, they've been fucking dunking on the bulls for the last couple weeks. What do you mean trapping them? They've already been trapped and slaughtered. Anything lower than this, man, is a bear market, in my opinion. This is I mean, you can get a deeper dive into this because you do have some room to breathe. But once you bring up numbers like 74K, 74K is lights out. If you get to 74K on Bitcoin, that's you've entered a bear market, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, could this fail? Sure. Could we build some daily div and do another dive into it? Yeah. And it would technically be okay. Right? I told you guys we could slide a bit further into it. We do have a lot of breathing room here where the bull market can't be maintained. But you throw out numbers like 74K, that's pretty much bear territory, and on like the big trend bear territory. So yeah, could we see something like this, like a deeper dive into it, form some kind of daily div with all this room to breathe over here? Yeah, we could still see that, but getting that low, that's it's hard for me to say that Bitcoin's looking good once we're there. I told you guys that these last couple weeks I have been, at least high time frame, I'm still bullish, right? But I have been leaning a little bit more bearish on sort of these lower time frame moves, and or at least a little bit more neutral. After the snipe today, after the fluidity today, I actually can be more confident again. Obviously, I'm positioned to have confirmation bias, right? Because of what happened, I obviously want it to go up. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But honestly, when I see fluidity like that, it doesn't happen very often on the bull side. I mean, we can all agree on this, right? I've said this multiple times in the past, but it's technically easier to grab a short sell a lot of the time than it is a long, because usually longs get messy at the bottom, and shorts are usually pretty clean. But when a long is pretty clean on the bottom side, you don't really want to ignore that. That's usually pretty important. I think 60K, once we get to, guys, if we get, like I said, if we go to 74, or we go under 74, like you're talking about 60K, we're in a bear market. I mean, you could start to DCA if you want, but at that point, what I do is I just take it one step at a time. I look at each structure on the way down. If it looks good, I'll say it looks good, long it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As far as calling where the bottom's going to be, we got a long ways. Like if we do enter a bear market, right? DCAing it would be the right move. 60K maybe is a little bit egregious if it's going to be a deep bear winter. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's not too bad of an approach. But yeah, it's one of those situations where nobody knows exactly where the bottom's going to be. So you are correct by saying look to DCA if that's what you want to do in your approach. That's not a bad one because nobody fucking knows where the bottom is if we do go for the bear market. But you guys know me. I like to get cheeky with it. I like to do this kind of shit. So I'm going to be looking for that kind of shit as we go lower, if we go lower. DCAing is kind of for people that don't have as much experience looking at price action and structure. It's not a bad move, right? But I don't know. I just prefer to I've spent so much time being able to do this, a lot of years, a lot of pain being able to do it, that I'm going to take advantage of my ability to do that. And I usually don't do like the sort of, I don't want to be mean, but sort of like the more newbie approach. Yes, EJ, I got it. You can probably tell by my rhetoric today that I did, yeah, and that's why I said take my analysis with a grain of salt, because obviously I do have a bias here, right? Like, was pretty hedge oriented, but now hedges have been trimmed, longs have been filled, so it's gonna sound like I'm more bullish again, because it works out best for me if we do go up. You're the real American sniper. But yeah, I mean, so just know that, I've flipped pretty hard. Not necessarily like I needed to flip because I was still high time frame on spot, but as far as leverage goes, I'm leaning pretty bullish now. I would love for the market to go up, right? So some of my analysis might lean a little overly bullish because of that reason, and I'm aware of that. So I'll try and rein it in and make sure I'm not being too biased towards the bulls. But it's going to be really easy for me to be biased towards the bulls right now because I want it to go up, right? So just keep that in mind. If you're a bear in the chat, you might disagree with me, which is completely fine. It's good to disagree. But as far as Bitcoin is concerned, I wouldn't mind if this bad boy pumped 10-15%. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see, Traxy. Like I said, one step at a time. If we start to form some bearish structure after we get that 10-15% bounce, then sure, I'll definitely recognize that. But until I see that, I can't be like, okay, well, we're gonna bounce and then we're just gonna dump, kind of thing. It's just, I have to see the structures form. I have to see what I'm looking at. And honestly, dude, this kind of shit does not happen very often. That kind of fluidity, it's like a once or twice a year kind of fluidity that you get. Well, maybe a little bit more than that, I guess it depends, but we still need to hold it, right? We could still fail this whole move, but if we do hold it, then it's just, in my opinion, there's a chance it could take us to an all-time high. I'm not saying it's guaranteed or that there's a high probability. We still got a lot of ways to go. I'm just saying that this kind of shit is the type of shit that can take you to an all-time high. Which is probably going to inspire people to do overly risky things, right? So you need to, not financial advice, do your own research, all that jazz. Like, come up with your own reasoning as to why. Don't just hear me say that and be like, oh, he says there's a good chance for all-time high, it's time to go all in, right? What do you mean by fluidity? This was the big test right here. We could have slid a bit more too. I don't know for sure when this kind of stuff happens. Like I said, I've talked about this level for, I don't even know how many months, probably 6 months, maybe more. And I wasn't sure if, we were going to have that slide into it, but the fact that we didn't get the slide just means that they were setting up shop to defend this, right? This was a big defend. Religiously following the 4-year cycle now? Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that agrees with it, Traxy. I just don't get completely sold on those kind of ideas just because, yeah, it's happened in the past. I'm not 100% convinced that it'll happen in the future. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows for sure. Fluidity, by the way, Mr. Jock, is just this, right? Like when you get a perfect fucking test, it means that basically the bulls were put to the test in a big way. If you guys, I was being rather dramatic, but I actually believe this. In the last couple weeks, I told you, if we don't win this fight here, we could easily enter a bear market. So the fact that we did win the fight and that we won it decisively on the bullish side is usually indicative that there's some strength, at least on the demand side of the market, to maintain a structure. So the structure that was fought for here was the FOMO rally structure. We just went straight up, cracked new all-time high, and this was the only area of fluidity for the bottom side to maintain that FOMO rally. And there was a bit of a fight, but what do you notice between the difference of these two fights? So let me clean up the chart and show you the difference. So the two levels to look for, right, was here and here. And when we were up here and it broke down, I told you these are the two areas to look for. You can go see in the recordings if you don't believe me. The difference between these two is what? In this scenario, you did hold it, you put up a fight, but which fight was more clean? Basically, where was there more of a struggle in these two fights? We had more of a struggle here, right? It wasn't just a clean tap. We made a bunch of equal lows. We dove into the liquidity, and in both these scenarios, one had more room to breathe, right? So what do I mean by room to breathe? I mean the distance between this low and this low is much tighter than the distance between this low and this low. Less tight, right? So more room to breathe. And they didn't even really use it. You got shadow banned on X. Yeah, they had to get rid of me on Twitter. Too overpowered. Went balls deep cross margin. Hey man, use risk management, alright? I know I'm very bullish right now, but there's reasons as to why. You took on a lot of spread when you bought on XC. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you nail these kind of lows though, you don't really care too much about the spread, because it shouldn't be that fucking insane, right? But that's XC for you sometimes. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the difference so far, right? We're not out of the woods. We could still get something like that, right? Which would suck, but that could still happen. The reason why that would suck is because if this, let's say it does do this, right, and we make that insignificant lower low, if we don't hold it here and we do something like that, then Bitcoin could be entering bear market. So we still got a ways to go. I'm celebrating a little early, right? We're not out of the woods. But this kind of stuff is what I like to see. This is exactly what I was telling you guys to look for when we were going down. What happens at 89? More specifically, this low in particular, right? So in this case, 89,250. But I showed you this was the low that I'm aiming for. So if I just say 89, it's for practicality reasons. I'm not going to read out every single number, like 89, 25669. Like if I did that for every single level I talked about, it's not really practical. We'd be here for ages, right? So if I just say 89, but I show you the area I'm looking at, you can put it in your own chart to see exactly where I'm talking about, like what precise level. This would have to be a scalp, yeah. Not a swing. Well, I mean, you could get away with a swing, but you have to be really bullish to swing this one, because you're basically assuming that we'd have to get another all-time high for this trade to work out on a swing. But yeah. I mean, you can't really ask for more. Now, here's the thing. We've got some other stuff to look at today in relationship to what's happening right now. We've got some spooky stuff happening on the stock market, no doubt about that. And unfortunately, because of the relationship between Bitcoin and Ethereum, the Ethereum level kind of got front ran a little bit. Which, when that kind of stuff happens, it puts a little bit of question in my head, because Ethereum volume is still relatively the same. It's pretty fucking close to Bitcoin volume. And because Ethereum got front run a little bit, now I ask myself, are we going to get that one more low on Biddy? Are they going to give us that one more low on Biddy? Maybe. Because the ETH never got filled. But it's pretty damn close, right? Pretty damn close. When you look at a chart like this, obviously it wasn't a perfect test, but it got pretty close as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is, because we didn't actually get a proper test here, does that mean we need to do this on Ethereum? And if we're doing that on Ethereum, does that mean that Bitcoin is doing this? Right? So that's one of the concerns I have. Obviously, it fucking sucks when there's a front run. maybe you had resting limit orders here, you're waiting to get filled. Now you're asking yourself, okay, I didn't get filled on it. Bitcoin hit the area. Does that mean I need to just market smash in on Ethereum now? That's something that you have to decide for yourself. Because could this be the Ethereum bottom for the next couple of weeks? It could be. Or we could get one more little low like this. Or it could be doom. Those are the three scenarios, right? Now, if I'm completely yielding to Bitcoin, which it does have the higher market cap, it technically does have the higher volume, then what's done is done. Right? It looks good. But, could we get another low? We could. But if we do, like I said, it needs to hold. There's no messing around if we do go for another one. That's why I'd rather just hold it. Because if we do another one, and we fail that, crypto could head into the bear market. Maybe for the next year. So, in my opinion, I'd rather just float this. Let's keep this thing floated. And, we've got the horsepower to do it right now. There's a lot of market participants who are willing to back us up. Like I said, this is sort of what we're seeing on the orders so far, and what we saw in the last 20-ish hours is big buyers stepping in, both on defending the bids, and also after the bids have been defended or the lows have been defended, then we get the FOMO rally that comes in afterwards. Yes, there is, Tom. Yeah. So the two things that, and there's other things too, by the way, that have me a little bit concerned about whether or not this will be maintained. Bitcoin has plenty of room to breathe, so Bitcoin could go make another deep dive into, let's say, like 86K. Okay, that could happen, which would fill the Ethereum. And the other thing that could lead to that is what's been happening on the stonks, right? We just flushed out some equal lows, and as a result of that, we've actually built more. The volatility index is fucking spooky right now. Volatility index is kind of getting out of control, so hopefully, basically, if we see, all things considered right now, if we see the rest of this week bullish for the stock market, that would give Bitcoin the runway to regain a lot of the ground that it lost in the last couple of weeks. We're at a spot right now on the VIX where it's harder for me to call it. I'm not going to be as accurate right now on the volatility index because a lot of my plans on it kind of got fucked. So that threw me for a loop. So when it comes to analyzing the VIX, I'm not going to be as solid as I was until I see more things develop. But there's this weird theory that Bitcoin almost front runs. Bitcoin sort of front runs everything else. Meaning, like, obviously Bitcoin dumped the last couple weeks, and now the S&P is dumped sort of later into that last couple weeks. Now Bitcoin is set up to pump, which could lead the way. I know that the S&P is a much bigger market cap, much higher volume, so it wouldn't really make that much sense for it to be like that. But the reason why I think that is probably because the ROI on Bitcoin paired with the depth of liquidity on Bitcoin gives it it's really good for sophisticated market participants. Because you get more ROI out of the moves, you get more volatility, so it's better for traders. And the liquidity is rather deep. It's not as shallow as maybe you would assume. Compared to the S&P, maybe you can call it shallow, but when you look at the ratio between volatility and depth of liquidity, it's pretty fucking unmatched. And regarding that, it just means that kind of Bitcoin might be leading the way in a lot of these scenarios. All right, gold did something pretty cheeky. It ended up holding, but, the fluidity wasn't that great. It's good enough, but you guys saw that was some cheeky stuff that went on with gold. They made the new low after, there was a little bit of a front run on it. Maybe we celebrated a bit too early, but the fact that we held it the second time is pretty important. Doesn't really look like we got any divergence, right? You can see no divergence, but it's good enough fluidity. Gold needs to maintain now, and we get an all-time high. If gold starts to fuck around at these lows again, like say we get another retest at these lows at around 4,000 again, 4,000 flat, or 3,999, then it could mean that. But if gold maintains now, then it could mean, this. Same thing with silver, did the same cheeky move, but the fluidity, silver wasn't as good. It's still pretty good though. Still pretty good overall. Mainly because of what happened here. And what happened at the top side. If you guys remember, I told you when silver was up here, this is the last spot to hedge for silver. And it wasn't that clean of a victory for the bears. So what that means is you've got stacked liquidity on short sellers, at least ones that are not expired. So the CFDs as well. I mean, look at the silver structure, man. What do you want me to say? You've got fragile structure on the bear side. It looks good, man. But it could look bad. If it look the way it would look bad is it's got actually more breathing room than gold. But the way it could look bad is the same thing. Like I said on gold, you don't really want to go back to the low that was formed here, which is around 49.38. If you do that, then you can go lower than that low. If you hold it here, though, rally it up to a new high, probably in a big way too. Because silver's been the slow cooker for decades, right? There's good fluidity if you magnet the levels. Yeah. On gold, right, Tom? Not so much on silver, but yeah, I agree. Plan for the dollar hasn't changed. Still the same, up and to the right for the dollar until we get above 102. I told you guys that, we might get a dump. But if you are going to long the euro, don't be too greedy with profit targets. And if you were, you kind of got rinsed, right? I hinted at that multiple times. Warned you about believing the strength in the euro the last week or so. It got a little something out of it, but still, the plan is the same. Euro could show a little bit more strength again, but the overall high time frame plan is dollar is likely going to outpace the euro. Continue to do that until I see what happens above this high at 102. Then I can change my opinion and say, okay, maybe the euro looks strong, maybe the pound, the yen looks strong, but until then, the plan will still be up and to the right on the dollar. Right now, the dollar's sitting under 100, right? 99.5 on the Dixie. So we'll see what happens once we get above 102. Oil's still trying for a little something, right? I'm not really a fan of where oil's at. I really haven't been. Like I said, the only plan on oil is to long it, but I don't really like the long that much. Really, the only thing that would happen with the long is maybe give us an opportunity to, short it again. Until then, nah. I mean, if you're an oil trader in the chat and you want my opinion of where I think it's going to go next, it's probably going to go up a bit. It'll probably rally a bit. But the issue with it is, if I'm wrong about that, and you got big positions, you could eat the slippage here. Without oil up, there is no inflation. Yeah, I've heard that argument. But yeah, as far as the chart is concerned, probably a pump on oil. I'm not really confident it's going to be that solid of a pump, but we'll take it one step at a time. So, kind of neutral, kind of bearish on the high time frame. Low time frame, sure, we can get a rally out of oil. Why not? Yield, still getting kind of slaughtered. Troxy, what do you think about what's happening in Japan with the bonds? A lot of people have a lot of opinions that that's going to have some serious ramifications on the rest of the markets. I don't know if I agree with them completely, but there's a lot of buzz from quote-unquote sophisticated market participants, right? Guys who seem like they know what they're talking about when it comes to what's happening with the Japanese bond market. But yeah, those guys, if you want my respect, if you're in finance or you're an economist, if you want my respect, you got to know how to look at a chart, a price chart, because this tells the story long before people just have opinions on all their shit. Like, if you can read a price chart, you don't need to listen to all the fucking garbage out there. Some things have serious ramifications, but for the most part, it's all written in the price. I know it sounds like I'm being an asshole right now, but that's just how I've always done it. Like, not always, right? When I first started, I was like, oh, we got to pay attention to what this guy says, pay attention to what that guy says. These fundamentals are going to change how the market's going to move tomorrow. It's like, maybe, but usually it's already written in the price. The price already tells you the story before it happens. Even local fluidity is pretty good on Biddy. Come on now, Bitcoin. Where's Michael Saylor at? You don't really pay attention to it. Lower rates equal bearish, higher rates equal bullish. At least that's how it's funny because it's supposed to be the inverse, right? But the way the price has historically trended with that, it's usually not. I'll go into a little bit more of a deep dive here. Just let me grab another cup of coffee. So I recognize that there's been viewers that have been sticking with me who have been bullish for the last couple of years because I've been bullish and I sort of pointed out certain areas, and maybe they're bullish for their own reasons, but we're all bullish together, right? And then maybe you got a little mad at me these last couple of weeks because I was leaning more bearish. The good news is I'm leaning back into the bull party again. You know, maybe some people in the chat, the bears in the chat might be mad at me, but just like the bulls might have been mad at me here, the bears might be mad at me here. Yeah, regardless, unfortunately, like, yes, I do care what you guys think to some degree, but I do have to, you know, I do have to have my own opinions. And so good news for the boys who have been watching me call bottoms on Bitcoin. I did it again for you. And the kind of fluidity that we saw here looks good, man. It looks good. Back to the bull side for now. But, you know, if you are one of the long-term moon boys that have been following me, you probably saw, you know, I was bearish for a good reason, right? The price did get fucking hit pretty hard. Now I'm bullish for good reason, so. The thing about being bullish, though, is we're still at the lows. I'm not full-blown bull again. It's good fluidity, but look at, when I show you this daily chart, we still have a good amount of room to run, right? We got a lot of ground to regain. It's very hard to say, oh, we get one green candle, right? And all of a sudden this didn't happen, all of a sudden we're going to go to the moon. I'm not saying that. Just saying where we pumped in these scenarios, right, was different from where we just pumped today. What's up, Kiro? This could easily fail, right? I'm not saying, you know, go all in. You still want to use risk management. But you know, you could probably tell in my rhetoric that I'm much more confident in this rally than I have been in any rallies on Bitcoin in the past couple weeks. Did you grab the limit order on it, Slumbo? It was kind of you had to scalp it, so I didn't actually get it perfectly. I got the higher low of it on it, which was still almost at the bottom. But I'm guessing you grabbed you just had the resting limit order on it. That's big balls. But you look at the other side of fluidity, there's still some things to look for, right? On a high time frame. You can look at that, which lines up with that, or you can look at that. So these are some areas that I didn't really talk about too much earlier in the stream that are important. But, you know, you kind of want to marry it with the local a little bit here. But sure, I mean, they could, from 1095 to 112, we could see some little bit of turbulence. Which lines up with a couple things that I'm looking for, right? Like this. But before that happens, it's hard to say. Unless I see, you know, some big imbalance of supply and demand that happens because of this, then we actually have, the train has a lot of room to go higher. Knife catching professional. Yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing, right? If you're just zoomed into this chart, right, then this seems like a dummy buy because you're just catching a knife. But if today proved anything to you, I wanted to prove that high time frame allows you to know with a much better where it's going to go in a low time frame. If you couldn't see this, you wouldn't know why we pumped where we pumped, right? We just pumped in the void. It kind of is. Knife catching for me would be not using any of the data that's available to you. So like knife catching would be like buying it here or here or something like that. We do have a little bit of stack liquidity on the low time frame, but it's low time frame stack liquidity. It's not like big boy like this one. How many boys were in the chat for the last 6 months when I talked about that level, though? But then you probably got bored a bit of me talking about that level, and you're like, fuck that level. I want to know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Same thing with the XRP pumper. He never said it once, you never mentioned it. Alright, thanks guys. I know who didn't get it now. I know who didn't catch that low. We heard 89 more than 6.7. Alts are holding up. Yeah, so this is another interesting thing that's happening, right? When we were dumping these last couple weeks on Bitcoin, and I've hinted at this multiple times, but I think it's more important to even talk about it now that we've seen good fluidity out of Bitcoin. Why is it not odd, right? If you've been watching the markets and particularly the alt markets the last couple of years and the relationship with Bitcoin, is it not odd that the alt market didn't dump even more? Like, why didn't the alts not dump like they normally do? And so that's why with Grim, I don't know if you're still here, you were saying that you leaned more into alts after you saw the Bitcoin fluidity. Honestly, I think that's pretty alpha. It's more risky, right? But it's at the right time, I think. Maybe. I could definitely be wrong about this. I mean, I've been wrong about it before. The alt season is fucking miserable sometimes to wait for, because it just keeps getting slammed and slammed and slammed. But I'm just saying what we all saw, which was that alts didn't dump nearly as much this time around when Bitcoin was dumping. And Bitcoin just showed good fluidity. So we'll see, but we're even holding really aggressive fluidity on Bitcoin now. Right? So we held the local, we look for the next one. We're even holding the aggressive stuff on Biddy right now. It's pretty impressive. Let's go. Pump it up. What's funny about this level is, if you were really fucking degenerate in the chat, you technically could have used this level to get 1000x fucking leverage. I know you're saying 1000x on a meme or whatever, but you could have actually used it to get 1000x long. Don't do that. Don't do that. But you saying 1000x is just... Yeah, no, don't do that though. I did. No, as far as altcoin rallies, I don't think it's going to be the meme coins. The meme coins already had their time in the sun. Maybe the meme coins will do good, right? But I think it'll probably be more the legacy alts. The reason why I'm also saying that is because what kind of pumps have we seen more recently? After the meme coins had their time in the sun? We've seen OG alts pump. So Zcash pump, right? ICP pump or whatever. Like the more old school alts had a little bit better of a run these last couple months. Might be a teaser for the bigger run around the corner if Bitcoin can actually maintain it. You have to go low time frame. So I got this one, I didn't get this. There's also a low time frame bull div here as well. You can probably imagine how happy I am about grabbing that right now. Because how tight that fucking stop loss was. Chainlink's pretty old school, yeah. It is. But what do you guys notice, right? When we do hold high time frame fluidity? I mean, look at the fucking low time frame fluidity when that shit happens. Like, when you know how to position yourself after you've seen the high time frame, even though, like, this kind of shit holds, right? And even this kind of shit holds. So far, right? So far. But it was the same thing, like when we were going down, like if I inverted this, it was the same thing as well. Like just low time frame bear fluidity was holding well. We also have stack liquidity here, so we could get some fireworks coming in right now. Let's see it. Let's go, Biddy. Come on now, boys. Where's the hype? Where's the hype? Where's my Andromeda Galaxy guy? We still have a lot of liquidity down here. That's a bit spooky, but the next one for the top side would be above 94. 100 extra channel points. But if you're curious, like, why I picked the levels I did, there's so many recordings of me talking about it because it's been so fucking long. But I think there's better explanations in the last couple of recordings. Probably the last VOD I talked about it. Can somebody confirm this? But I think the last VOD I talked about it in depth as to why I was looking for this one down here. About alts holding. I think it has something to do with all the leverage on the longs were flushed, so there's no reason for MM to push it down. Yeah, I think I think you're right about that S case, but then also you'd probably agree that it's a case by case basis, right? Like we got to look at each alt individually, but as a general sense, I think you're right about that to some degree. It also did expose how weak the flow was, though, as well, too. Like, the float is being heavily maintained by market maker. That's what that really exposed on October 10th. Whereas Bitcoin, yeah, kind of, right? Wasn't as dramatic. It certainly led to a lot of fear that followed afterwards, though. So to put this in simple terms, what we're talking about in simple terms just is, you know, who's this guy in the books that's resting in the books, right? He's saying, if you sell it to me at a lower price, I'll buy it from you. Whereas most people, like probably almost everybody in the chat, when you decide you want to buy Bitcoin, what do? You press the market order button, right? You're not sitting in the books like this waiting for a lower price. You don't want to miss out. Right? The fear of missing out is just baked into fucking crypto. So if this guy disappears, what happens? Price could take a beating until it runs into, you know, humans that will step in. You know, this is mainly just bots doing this, right? Just bots on both sides, just delta neutral farming the spread. But so the point being is, like, you know, what happened in early October was these guys disappeared, and so the price was completely maintained by the humans in the books, and the price action showed that a lot of the float is maintained by liquidity provision. Now the same thing can be true to the other side too, though. So the other side up here, you know, when you want to sell Bitcoin, what do? Most of the time you're going to market order it. You're not going to be resting in the books. So the other thing can be said about the other side as well. Which means, you know, if this gets lifted, then we float high, because there's really no icebergs. Like you can see on the bottom side, you know, there's humans that have set up shop with icebergs on the bottom side, so below the price, that want to bid Bitcoin if it goes lower. But on the other side, you know, where'd the fuck the icebergs go? If liquidity provision lifts the ask orders, this thing can fucking fly. We got some equal lows here. We don't really want to return to this structure. It needs to be maintained. It broke a little bit right there, but it's okay, because we still have a lot of runway. We have some room to breathe. You took the Tesla play? Yeah, the Tesla play is good. I'm not super confident on it, but this was the play for Tesla. It's not updated because we're on 2 chart. Let me get a 2 chart. Hold on. We'll leave Bitcoin up on the side so you can watch it while I talk about other things. So yeah, here's the Tesla play. So sort of waiting for this regain to still come in. I mean, it depends on how aggressive you want to be, but we definitely dove into the pocket. Sure, Porter John's happy because he had bids, I think, all the way down. I think a lot of people in the chat still have more bids on Tesla lower, though. So the boys in the chat are holding up the Tesla price because they're just stacking the bids, waiting for it to go deeper. I don't know if it'll give it to us deeper. It really depends on what the overall markets do. Like if the S&P, if the rest of the Mag 7 is really bearish, then of course Tesla's going to follow. But if the inverse of that is true, then maybe it doesn't give us fills lower. We'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on this together. But yeah, that's sort of the play on Tesla right now. If this doesn't hold at 375, as you guys know, then it's deep sea diving time most likely. It probably won't happen that dramatically, but you know. Yeah, it's got equal highs, and it the bear div already came to fruition, right? Took out the low that created it. You heard Mr. Bourbon controls the Tesla stock. No, I was wrong about Tesla in one instance. So I called the Tesla dump here, and I was sort of neutral / bearish down here, so I was wrong here, and then I called the pump here. So I called the dump here, called the pump here, but down here, you can argue I was wrong. Because this is fragile market structure down here. Fortunate enough for Tesla, though, the overall market sentiment was pretty strong. So it kind of got carried by the fact that the rest of Mag 7 was strong, and the rest of the markets were strong. And being carried in a critical spot like that can lead to a lot more coming out of the market. Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out, but you really don't want to start trading below 370, 375, that kind of pocket. You start to dip down here and you run into what could be murky waters. Because most of the stuff's already done on Tesla. My boy Jeff Bezos is taking a beating though today. Also, things to pay attention to, which I think is kind of a pressing issue, is Nvidia kind of looks a little weak here. Which is scary because there's a big argument out there that Nvidia is kind of holding up the market sentiment of everything right now. Like if Nvidia dumps, then it's all going to dump type of thing. But yeah, Nvidia does look a little weak here, unfortunately. The reason why I say that is because you've got a bunch of equal lows. This is good fluidity though, right? But it turns red right when I say that. So the reason why I say that is because on Nvidia, all the leveraged players are all sitting in the same spot. If we go under 177, leveraged players get flushed for pretty much setting up shop for the last 30 days, last month. And the question is, if we see an imbalance of supply and demand after that, then it's smooth sailing. Like if we see something that tight get held, oh, that's very bullish. But you run the risk of doing that when you clear out all these guys. So that's concerning. Also, the volatility at the top, just by intuition, it looks a little scary, right? When you retrace that whole move in a pretty quick fashion. Of course, it's happened before, but maybe not as violent in such a quick fashion. So, a little spooked about Nvidia, and maybe more so the ramifications of how that'll affect the broader market sentiment, because it is such a powerhouse that's been sort of carrying the bullish sentiment. So, if this wasn't an Nvidia chart, I wouldn't really care if it dumped. But the fact that it's Nvidia, right? And if it is actually supporting the float for most of the Mag 7 and the stock market in general, then I don't really want it to. I don't want to be right about this. I'd rather have it just pump. And the reason why I could be wrong is because how many fucking times have we seen equal lows lead to fucking all-time highs? Right? That happens all the time. I don't like it. I think it's not good market structure, but it fucking happens these last couple of years. I think it's greedy people creating an issue for a later day. And that's a human in a nutshell. I heard someone in the AI space say that they think Amazon will end up being the biggest AI company. Dude, I told you guys, man. You always bet on the bald guy. You always bet on the bald guy. Yes, Amazon's getting fucked pretty hard right now, but I don't know. I nailed Zen. That's how you get me to look at a chart. You say, I nailed it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I want to see it. I don't actually trade this, though. Oh yeah, not bad. Not bad. Good volume. You're appealing to my ego. You know me too well. That's good volume, though. It's a good retest. Probably would have been better to get all-time lows on this, but that's not bad. You think all the Mag 7 looks bad right now? Google actually doesn't look too bad. Not just because Buffett bought it or whatever, because I told you guys that we took out the low that created it. I don't know when Buffett bought it, but you had the low that created it here, and you held it here. This right here is important. It doesn't matter what chart you're looking at. This is a concept that's applicable to a lot of charts. Here's the simple reasoning, right? Let's think about this simply. We went up pretty fast. Okay, that's fine. After we went up fast, we started to consolidate. So we started to bounce in a range. And we formed and established sort of these equal lows. So if we go below those equal lows, what is the rationale for people to step in to buy it? What is the logic for people to step in to buy it? Like, what are they using? Are they using like this or something, like a fair value gap, whatever the fuck? I don't know. But so when the bottom falls out, what could happen is something like that, right? But when that doesn't happen, that's when it's time to pay attention. Does that make sense? Like this, what should happen here, if it is bearish, is that we should have seen this. So when that doesn't happen, that's when I pay attention. I don't know when Buffett bought more of it. I don't really care, to be honest, because the price is going to tell the story anyways. But now what do we have forming? Well, if they're taking a hedge bet, right? If they have options against Google, they should be dogpiled in at the same spot around 293. When is this vault going to be released to YouTube? Because I need to rewatch this. Usually Leo posts it the same day, like later in the day or the next day. But as far as like, you know, walking you through every single step of how to analyze something, that's something that you probably won't learn in one stream. Most of the people in here have watched hundreds of streams. And I think you have too, Svet. It's just, you know, I'm not going to explain every single concept in a couple hours. And even any individual concept requires you to actually, you know, see, because it's all relative, right? So what I might call an equal low, you might not call an equal low. What I might call a bull div, you might, or what you might call a bull div, I might not call a bull div. But it takes the experience of looking at everything in a relative fashion. And if everything's relative, it's harder for me to just nail it down and quantify it for you and just be like, okay, if this happens and you do this type of thing. The other thing is, you have to remember it's all probabilities. Like, yes, we had a nice pump on Bitcoin right where we wanted it to happen, right? But is it guaranteed? No, it's not guaranteed. Nothing is in the market, or in life for that matter, but that sounds cringy. So nothing in the market is guaranteed. Yes, this is beautiful, and I'm rooting for it. You know, because I stand to make money if it works out, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat do as well, because I've been talking about it for a long fucking time. But is it guaranteed to work out? No. That's why you can't go all in. You can't bet the whole farm on any individual trade. That being said, though, let's fucking pump it up. Your Oracle put in juicy profit, mostly took that trade because of FA. Very bad balance sheet. So all the FA outside of the balance sheet look good. But really, the last time I made a call like this was this one. That's why I'm kind of excited, right? You gotta let me be a little bit excited, because, you know, I had to wait a long fucking time. But the last time was this one, the sniper here. I called this one too, but I'm not as proud of this one because it wasn't as clean. Like, it was good, but you know, when you can nail it within a couple pips, it feels good. Because anybody can put a box on a chart. How many people can put a line where it just tags it by a pip? For most of my alt shorts, man, you're still that bearish? I hope it works out for you, but it's one of those times where I see that kind of fluidity, you know. Good luck with your shorts. We're coming for them. The bull stampede's coming to run everybody over. No, I still have, you know, shorts running. It's not guaranteed, but definitely positioned to like to see a little pump, you know. I'll be honest, I have a problem with price action. My plans on where to enter my risk management is good though. For 2 years, I have not blown your account, so that's why I'm trying to learn price action to increase my... Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a good problem. I said this last stream. A good problem to have is being really good at risk management, but not being profitable is way better than being really good at strategy and not risk management. You need to have both, right? You can't just fucking only rely on risk management. I mean, you kind of can a little bit just because of the volatility, but not really. But yeah, I mean, as far as strategy is concerned, it's difficult, right? There's certain things you really need to understand, but it's something that I think that a person can learn. Maybe that's because I've learned it, and I'm more biased to believe that somebody can learn it. I don't know for sure if anybody out there can fucking learn it, but I like to believe that. But I think you've been here for a while though, so like I did more teaching streams. Like the boys who've been here for a long time probably remember the teaching streams back in like 2023 and 2024. In 2025, I haven't done it as much just because I just assume that when I go through something quick, I just assume that people are following it, which is probably a bad assumption. But it's mainly because a lot of the people that come by here are like reoccurring guys who have been with me for a while. But if you have like a question in something in particular, I'll go through it. I don't mind going through it. It's just hard for me to be like, okay, where do I start? When half the chat is already nails a lot of this stuff already, and they probably don't want to hear me talk about it again. And the other half of the chat's like, okay, what is this guy looking at? How is this guy doing this? But yeah, man, just think about like a question in particular that I can answer. Because if I don't know, where you're at, then I don't know where to start. If that makes sense. And everybody's at a different spot. Do you know order flow? I mean, I know the basics of order flow. Order flow was, telling people that this could reverse here. At the same time that that I was using price action structure to know that it was going to reverse there, or there was a probability that it was going to reverse there. I didn't know for sure. It could have dumped. I could have been wrong. Right? That can always happen. But if you have good, if you can read a price chart really fucking good, then you can throw in some order flow and just have even more of an advantage. But really, the bread and butter, the fucking cornerstone, is to know the price action and the structure. That's the most important. Because you don't technically need order flow. Order flow is like adding a little extra, adding some extra, bonus points so that you can sort of get that advantage going too. Like if you want to squeak out every single edge you can. But I've always been a firm believer in just maximizing your points in understanding price action and the structure of the price. Structure of price on high time frame is unmatched. It's unmatched. There's nothing that beats it, dude. Because I've tried all the shit. Not maybe, maybe I could dive deeper into order flow and stuff, but that's how it is, man. Seasoning, yeah, it's like the salt and pepper, right? What do you think is more important? Do you think the steak is more important, or do you think the salt and pepper is more important? Right? That's a dumb question, right? But that's kind of the way I see it. That's the analogy I use. It's like, yeah, salt and pepper's great, but it's nothing without the steak. And the steak's still something without the salt and pepper. It's just, cool, bro, it just comes with repetition. Like, when you look at a chart, here's what you should try and do. Try and look at it from other people's perspectives, not just your own. So, when you look at a chart, try and find areas you think people would care about. Not what you care about. What other people would care about. Like, where does the majority of people see somewhere on the chart as being significant? And the other thing is, old school technical analysis is flawed because, here's the thing, right? Old school technical analysis will not tell you about this level. The reason why, and by the way, old school technical analysis gives, a really bad name to the guys who are always innovating and getting better. But basically, if price goes through this level is no longer good. So what people will do is they'll be like, okay, then let's look over here because price never went through this, and they'll draw like a fair value gap here or something, and then they'll get left behind. I don't know how to draw a fair value gap, but you get the point, right? Yeah, I don't use fair value gap either. I don't use ICT stuff either. But I'm just saying, like, just because price has gone through the level doesn't mean that it's not significant. And like, just look for like the extremities in the data set, right? Like, where do we see big action? So like we saw big action here, we saw big action down here, or like where's the outliers, right? So start with that. Okay, we marked out the outliers, right? There's more too. I mean, this chart can get really messy, but it's honestly, it's about knowing what's important, and I show you what I think is important all the time. It's hard to just say, oh, this is important because of XYZ, but I try and explain the logic. Like, for instance, why did I think this level was important? The reason why I thought it was important is because Bitcoin rallied to a new all-time high. Bitcoin hit over 100K a coin, right? After it did that, it formed that sort of structure I was talking about, where you're kind of just ping-ponging between a range. Okay, where's the established lows? Here, right? So where do people start to capitulate? Below these lows, at these lows, or below them. So when people start to capitulate, you could argue this is accumulation, because if it wasn't, then it should have just done that, right? You should have pulled the old Bart Simpson. You can see Bart Simpson's head. It should have free-falled. So when it doesn't, it's time to pay attention. But where did accumulation start? Well, it started where people started to lose. Where did people start to lose? At the established lows after we went straight up. There was confluence in liquidity, meaning everybody was pressing the red button at the same time, but the price didn't drop. When everyone's pressing the red button at the same time and the price doesn't drop, it's time to pay attention. When everyone's pressing the green button at the same time and the price doesn't rocket upwards, it's time to pay attention. Because what should happen? If everyone presses the red button at the same time, what should happen? Price should fall. Why didn't it fall? Yeah, I mean, a three minute's going to be more random. If you know like where the general direction is on the high time frame, though, then you can take advantage of the 3 minute. The probability, like the risk reward you're going for in a 3 minute, is going to be super fucking high, whether you realize it or not. And if the risk reward is super fucking high, what does that mean about the probability of the success? If you're aiming for something with really high risk reward, do you think it's more probable or less probable that it'll be a success? Less probable, right? Because there's a bigger reward. That's just nature. You're going for a bigger reward, the probability of success will go down. So yeah, you're gonna lose some trades on the low time frame. It doesn't matter how good you are. You could be God's gift to the fucking charts. You're still gonna lose trades on the low time frame. So if you know that to be true, then you can't over risk on any individual trade. Now when we do this kind of stuff, that's where I get a little cheeky with it. Yeah, high time frame is more probable, but it also gives you direction. So like if you're looking at this chart on the 1 minute, right? Whoops. Some people might be bullish, some people might be bearish. Regardless of if they're bullish or bearish, if they're not using informed, if they're not informing themselves from the high time frame trend, then it really doesn't matter. And there's more than one trend that's going on, so yeah, could we dump from here? We could. But what is the general direction? It's up right now. Maybe because it was the absolute low when we created the structure up here. It was the lowest low there on that structure. We can debate what low is a good low, what low is a bad low, but like I'm not interested in like debating like, is this the low? Is this the low? Is this the low? No, what is the lowest one? It's this one, right? I'm not trying to beat you up, rock and roll. I know it's tough love, right? I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, maybe if you use this one, it would have been good too. If you use this one, it would have been good too. I mean, it could have been. And that's correct, cool. You're right about that. It's also the low that created the insignificant higher high. That's very good, dude. You have been really tracking. Well done, that's correct. It's also the low that created the insignificant higher high. So, Bitcoin makes an all-time high. It goes for it again. Why wasn't it more? Everyone should be buying at this point, right? At this point in the chart, everybody's buying. So why did the price not follow the arrow? Instead, it dumped. Okay, well that's an important point. It's a really sloppy divergence though, to be fair. It's got a lot of data in between it. So it's not that good of a divergence. So that you might be a little bit off on, cool, if you're catching what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of data between this daily divergence. So it's not that good, right? But it is technically the low that created it as well. The more important part is not necessarily that it's the low that created it. The more important part is this is pretty much the last stand where people see Bitcoin hit over 100K, right? They're like, holy shit, I gotta get in. Bitcoin's up above 100K. I can't miss out on this. I gotta leverage up, right? Because it's gonna go to the moon. It's going to the Andromeda galaxy. It's time to leverage up, boys. Okay? And then where do those same emotional market participants, where do they capitulate? Well, where's the most obvious area that they could? Particularly after this happens, right? So the other thing you have to note is, the other thing to pay attention to here is, okay, let's say that they didn't have this invalidation. Well, if they didn't have this invalidation, but they had an invalidation anywhere higher, right, as this was going up, then they got tagged out here. So maybe they weren't at the low, okay? But if they weren't at the low, they already got tagged out on this candle. So now, more invalidations down here. Which are shared with invalidations right here. And by some dumb luck, if these guys didn't get taken out on this candle, then it means that they've got, you know, more passive stop losses as well. So now you've clustered all the invalidations in the same spot, which means everyone's going to press the red button at the same time and get out of the leverage positions because they have to. If someone's going leverage long and it pulls against them enough, they have to get out of the position whether they want to or not. The exchange is going to close it. So where's that pain point where they all have to close at the same time? And then what happens after? You know, why, when everybody's pressing sell below this, why didn't price do that? That's the spot to do it, right? Everybody's selling at the same time. I don't do origin stuff, man. There's some people that talk about origins and that kind of stuff. I mean, I trust that they have success and stuff, but that's not my style. I mean, maybe I'm doing that same thing that they're doing. We're using different terminology. But I don't know too much about like origin, you know, like failures and gains. I mean, kinda. So, because price didn't do that, right? What does that mean? Exchange of liquidity. If you wanted to buy a lot of Bitcoin, how could you do it? You trap everybody in the same spot with long leverage. Then you push it down. You push it down by stacking big ask orders in the books up here. So big sell orders, plus selling it yourself, plus closing longs in profit. So you're slamming the market hard to get to a point where all these leverage guys get flushed at the same time. And now you've got a perfect opportunity to accumulate, because now you've got plenty of people willing to sell to you. Okay. And then where do you think this gets defended? Well, where did it start to get accumulated? Well, it could start to get defended right here, or we could have went a bit deeper. I don't know until it happens. Nobody really does, because you don't know how many people are going to press the red button right here. You could have a lot of fucking ammo, right? But if you don't know how many enemies you're facing, then how could you know that you have enough? You could have an idea of how many enemies you're facing. You could have a general idea, but it's impossible to know completely how many you're facing in this kind of situation. People spend a fuck ton of time and a lot of money and a lot of research hiring a lot of people to figure out how many enemies they're facing. What is this sell pressure going to look like? But they don't know for sure. They can't. They'll, like I said, they'll try their hardest to try and figure it out. But the beauty of the market is it's unknown. Unknown supply and unknown demand will slam the market when we get volatility. How much demand is going to show up? How much supply is going to show up? Well, we'll take it one step at a time. One guy that is really good at structure and price can beat an army of guys that are quants. Get your army of quants and let's see if they can tag that kind of shit. But that was the logic of it. Yeah, there's monthly bear div and weekly bear div, yeah. I told you guys my sweet spot for divs, and I've been doing divs for a long time, man. A lot of repetition with divs for a long time. My sweet spot is the 4 hour to the daily. It used to be lower time frame too, but the meta sort of shifted. As far as weekly and monthly bear divs, I'll look at them, but I don't yield to them as hard as I would for like a 4 hour or a daily. Because what you're assuming when you look at like a weekly or a monthly bear div is that so many people are going to continue to sell after you've sold. For months on end, people are going to continue to keep selling, regardless of any outside forces or any new structure that forms. A daily div or a 4 hour div can play out in less than a week. A monthly div or a weekly div could take a couple financial quarters of needing the same thing to continue to happen. Why do you focus on divergence so much? I mean, I can see it without the fucking thing. Like, it's the reason why is because what is divergence built around? It's built around the relative strength. What is the market? It's all relative. It's just a different way to visualize like the charts in a relative fashion, but that's how you should view every chart, is relative. That's why it's so fucking hard to quantify it. Yeah, there's monthly bear div, and yeah, it's concerning, for sure. Weekly bear div is concerning. It is. But I'm not going to make any big decisions based off of it. It might work out, it might not. I mean, what happened last time, right? Is this not the same thing that happened here? Right? So you have a higher high on the weekly, lower high on the weekly. But it never flushed the lows. It went and made another all-time high. So now people are saying, okay, it's the three-legged monster. It might be the three-legged monster. They might be right about that. I don't get much like use out of that kind of knowledge. I can't really play around that kind of knowledge that well. But they might be right about it. I mean, I respect the hell out of Traxy. Traxy might be right about that stuff. I can't use it to do entries or really like, you know, I just don't use the weekly or the monthly. Yes, it's delayed, sure. It is delayed. Every indicator has a lag, but basically you're looking at what happens in real time, and then after you've looked at what happens in real time, then you look at how does that affect the bigger picture. Every little fight has an effect on the big picture. So if there's a lot of greed in these little fights, it actually damages the big picture. I just want an alt season so I can sell my Dogcoin bags. But yeah, I mean, if you get good enough with divergence, you can see it without the fucking tool. How often do you... I'll look at it on low time frame, for sure. Here's the thing, right? I see pips. If you have a clean 4 hour bull div, right? And then you get like a 5 minute bull div paired alongside of that, then it's like, that's just bonus points. If you're at a key level and you get some low time frame divs, that's bonus points. But if you're floating off into the void, if you're just in the void with no high time frame levels, no high time divergences, you can't really yield to like a 15 minute divergence or something. It might work, but the probabilities aren't in your favor at that point. I mean, maybe a little bit, slightly, but I don't want those slight probability. I want to fucking nail it. So there are times where there's validity to using lower time frame RSI. But certainly not when you're just floating in a void. Fucking Discord notifications are going crazy right now. The good news is, if Bitcoin can maintain this, it's got a lot of room to run. It's got a lot of room to go to the upside, because there's not too much in its way right now. The reason why I say that is because usually, if you go straight down, right, it's a lot easier to be able to go straight back up, because there's not a lot of reason as to why people would sell at the levels that they sell, other than the onslaught of fear that hits the market. And that sometimes that can have aftershocks, and sometimes, you know, that trend followers, pretty much. But once you see this kind of shit, man, you got a powerhouse behind you. You've got a lot of other people who are willing to rally with you, and they've got some size behind them. You get a bunch of guys with some size in the same spot, you can pump it. But you want the cavalry on your side, right? You don't want them not on your side, that's for sure. If it goes to 80k, yeah, 80k might be a bit too deep. Let me just see what that would look like. You still have a little bit of breathing room at 80k, but it looks bad at 80k. Yeah, you could pull out a Hail Mary there, but what's up, Reaper? Reaper, we hit the sniper level, buddy. While you were in Thailand, look what Biddy did, Reaper. While you were in Thailand smoking weed. You're long in it? Nice. Yeah, no, there's a scenario where this is okay. Like, something like this would be okay in my mind. But this is approximately like 85. Anything lower than this, though, it starts to get really murky. Like 85 is, I guess, okay. It's not ideal, but it's all right. Anything lower than that, though, it's hard to say that we're not entering a bear market. The thing about Sailor, if Sailor defended it at really good areas like this, like if, let's say Sailor just held off, right, for the last couple months and didn't buy anything, but now he started to slam into the market, and he didn't slam super fast because he doesn't want to have liquidity provision, try and outmaneuver him. But if he did like a slow drip right now, and he held off and he just did a slow drip buy right now, it would be pretty massive for the structure. He can't do that. He has an obligation to buy as soon as he gets his money. Yeah, I don't like that kind of obligation. That doesn't really make too much sense to me, because it's like you're pretty much ignoring the fact that there's ebbs and flows in a market. It goes up and it goes down, right? Name me one market that doesn't go up and down. Name me one market that only goes up. And if it has only gone up, it's usually isn't that old of a financial instrument, and it'll likely go down in a big way. Inflation? Yeah, inflation would drive FOMO, but regardless, unless your inflation numbers are at, unless you're in hyperinflation, like the Turkish lira, like look at this chart. This is one of those exceptions. Like, you're correct about that inflation, but inflation's not at Turkish lira levels. Look at this chart, boys. Look at that one. How do I buy this, boys? It's dollar against lira. Fucking crazy chart, right? Like, unless your inflation's this fucking bad, then you're still gonna have ebbs and flows. Traxy's P&L. This is a weird chart, right? So this is the US dollar against the Turkish currency. But they're, hyperinflation, so. You know what I'm waiting on, though? This kind of candle. It already happened here. What's the plan now? We got some runway if this thing holds, Reaper. We got some runway, so hold your horses on it. But it's first area to look for is if we get local imbalance of supply and demand. So, and that's going to be happening pretty much above 97, but we'll start to tag into that around here. If this does fail, then 85k would be the last spot to really hold it. So this would be like the first sign of a little bit of weakness. Why is the lira losing? Because central banks, man. Central banks are bullshit. The thing is, like, people think inflation just solves the problem. All it does is put a band-aid on an infection. Yeah, the volume wasn't that good. That's a good counterpoint, Reaper. I agree with that. I wish the volume was a bit higher. If the volume was even higher, I could be even more confident in this rally. It's not bad volume, though. But we are just looking at the Nance volume, right? You mentioned BlackRock, other companies are stacking, right? That's going to be on a different chart, that kind of volume. You know, the ETFs, and then also maybe Coinbase, maybe, you know, other exchanges as well. So if we're just narrowed in on the Nance volume, yeah, it's not that good, but you have to factor in those things too. What's up, Cashlot? And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat just leverage long here, so now we gotta go flush it out before we go higher. Too many people 100xing in the same spot. You still see too many? No, dude, the fear greed index is in the gutter right now. A lot of people are bearish, dude. I mean, I'll give you this as an example. This is not something you don't really want to use sentiment like outside of the charts to really give you too much influence. But I haven't seen my chat that bearish. Like the last couple of weeks, I haven't seen my chat that bearish. I can't even remember since I started streaming. You guys remember how fucking bearish the chat was. And for good reason. I mean, the price was dumping, right? It's not like they were wrong. The bears in the chat were right. Problem with crypto coins is that it's like seasonal. Most regulars start buying basically close to all-time highs. That's every trade. That's trading in general. But yes, that's true. Yeah, now that we're below, nobody's buying. At this point, not much regulars are buying except guys with DCAs. Yeah, that's how it feels, right? But that's just the nature of any market. But most people are not good traders. I'm reminded of that meme where it's like there's a bunch of people in line to buy Bitcoin at the all-time high, and then there's like nobody in line to buy it when it goes low. If you guys know that meme. It's like a black and white meme. Chat was looking for 89. Chat was calling all kind of numbers, dude. Chat was like, oh, we're going to 94. Oh, we're going to fucking 30. We're going to 60. But I made sure to keep reminding you, I'm looking for 89. We're going to 0. Support's at 0. In a millisecond, yeah. Just teleport down to 0 real quick, fill the bids, the stink bids, and then rocket back up. Champ, what is the chart? It's BTC against DAI, right? On KuCoin. Look at this one. Look at that chart. There's a Bitcoin chart, right? Look at that wick. Tested all the way down to 3.2. You're telling me I could have bought a Bitcoin for $3? Get the stink bids ready, boys. Hey, if we're just looking at that chart, I don't want to hear anybody say we have more gaps to fill to the bottom side. Because based off that chart, all the gaps got fucking filled. Most exchanges won't let you place it that low. You have to be tapped into the API. It's usually arbitrage bots that are buying it at that price, and it happens really quick. That's, you know, sometimes people will say like, oh, they're fighting for milliseconds. Like, it's those kind of moments, and also like, you know, people that are providing liquidity are also trying to fight for the quickest latency or whatever. S&P looks shaky here, Glenn. That's the only thing that can really throw a wrench in this Bitcoin rally is S&P doesn't look that good. Gold looks okay, though. Gold did something cheeky, but it still is fine where it's at. Same thing with silver. You don't really want to see that. It's technically fine. Like Tom noted, if you magnet it properly, then it is still fine. It's good fluidity. So, gold, silver still good. S&P looks a little shaky. Bitcoin good, though. So, you know. The alternative monies look good, while the dollar looks good against other currencies. Oh yeah, after I'm done streaming here today, you guys should check out the Friday recording stream if you're a trader in the chat, because I went through a lot of the stuff that you're not going to find on the internet. Isn't it cool that we have Andromeda Galaxy? Traxy wants to go to Andromeda Galaxy. Can you guys pump it, please? Make Traxy happy. Make sure you pump the dog coins, because the dog's wearing a hat. Which dog coin do you want to pump, Traxy? There's a handful of them. I'll let the boys know. Yeah, space is pretty fucking crazy, man. You do some psychedelics lately, Traxy? Is that what you're talking about? How come Sol's pumping? Sol got pretty close to the pocket. Not that good. It still doesn't look that good, dude. So this was the first area I talked about. It's you got equal lows. I mean, here's the thing. A pump like this on Sol, I think is a good spot to use as a hedge vehicle. So, you know, things don't just go straight up, they don't go straight down. Sol's been getting its ass kicked, right? I still think it looks bad, but if the overall market sentiment from Bitcoin is super strong, then Sol can obviously get bailed out by it. There's some good things and some bad things on this chart. If we get back to 217, it looks like a pretty decent hedge. Oh shit, Michael Saylor just gifted a bunch of subs. Thanks, Michael Saylor. Is it because I'm bullish today? Maybe that is the real Saylor. Thank you, appreciate it. Say thank you if you got one. It is the real one. But yeah, it's Sol's kind of a tricky chart because, I mean, it still looks like dog shit to me. But if it does pump, it could give an opportunity to get some hedges. Saylor, that is money that you could be using to pump Bitcoin. Real Saylor would give tier 3 subs. So maybe something like this for a hedge. Because the only play right now on Sol would be like doing equal low play, right? Which I don't really like those plays in general because you got it's garbage structure, but they have been working out. Last VOD is 13. We switched it over to YouTube because Twitch deletes VODs. So, like, if we want to archive more than 60 days, then we have to do it on YouTube. The Latvian Sniper has recordings for my streams all the way back from like 2023 though. Taylor, did you gift those subs because I gave you an entry that down here? Since I gave you this, did you give me subs? You paying for my beer tonight, Sailor? Is that what it is? Or is it because I'm bullish now? Is Zcash another all-time high? Zcash is a tricky one. You made $2 billion off of my call and you're giving me 20 subs? Homie made $2 billion off my call and he's giving me 20 subs. You know, take your subs back, Sailor. I'm just kidding, I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Zcash is hard to call right now, man. The structure actually doesn't look too bad though, because you've got equal highs, which is good. I gotta let this thing develop a little bit more, but it still looks... Honestly, dude, the guiding light on this thing is the fucking volume is fantastic. And of course, like I said in the past, you know, Zcash holders are just so resilient. They're crazy motherfuckers, dude. If you want something to pump and continue to pump, you need the tinfoil hat brigade. I mean, you can even argue that's Bitcoin, right? You get enough insane guys to buy and hold a financial asset, some of them are not going to sell it, dude. And that's kind of Zcash. Oh, and the other thing is you have a lot of the OG crypto guys. Like, crypto guys who've been in the game for a long time, they like Zcash because a lot of their friends like Zcash. And, like, you know, they respect their other OG friends a lot. They're like, okay, this guy's had a lot of success in crypto. I trust his picks. Let's buy some Zcash type thing. Yeah, it's every financial instrument is a cult. Like, even if you go outside of crypto, right? Like, you look at like any financial instrument, any stonk, you kind of have a cult following, right? Like, you could look at Google, you could look at Nvidia, Tesla, whatever. Because if it's not paying you a yield, it's no different. Unless you have a financial instrument that's paying you a yield. Oh, look, some Bybit guy's trying to slam it down right now. Unless it's paying you a yield, then it's the same logic as buying Bitcoin. Look at this guy on Bybit, dude. He's like unloading 20 million or more right now. It's probably more. He's still doing it, dude. Look at him slam it. He needs the spot market on his side. Maybe it was profit taking for longs. I don't know. I think guys made that pizza guy on Twitter lose a few million. He went off on them. What's that story about? I didn't hear about that one. We have an OG Link guy in here who got in at like 50 cents a coin. I don't know where he is. Nixo. He also frequents the casinos in LA. I never met him though. Goes to the Hustler Casino, plays some 510 every night. What's up, Manessa? Oh, we're doing good, dude. Look at that bounce. How can I not be? No, it looks like either profit taking or him trying to slam the market on leverage. That just doesn't work. See, Glenn, it's good and it's bad because the type of people that you run into playing poker at a live casino, they're kind of dicks. A lot of them. Sometimes you'll meet some really cool guys. Like it's like a diamond in a rough. Like one of every 5 to 10 people is like a really cool guy. But then you also have to put up with like, you know, the other 9 guys who are just like throwing chips at the dealer, blaming the dealer, you know, yelling at the fucking waitress and shit. And it's just like, dude, come on, I don't want to play that game. It's like the same type of guys that would blame the market for the reason why they're not doing good. Blame the dealer for why they're not doing good. Like, it's the market's fault, I'm not doing good. It's the dealer's fault I'm not doing good, instead of like taking any accountability that, you know, they're making the decision. You're choosing when to buy and sell. That's the choice that you can only make. You're making that choice on your own. If you don't accept responsibility for your choices, you're not going to improve. No one's forcing you to click buy. No one's forcing you to click sell. That's all on you. Oh, Dave Portnoy, the pizza guy. What is this, a hype chest? Oh, we had a hype train. It's the market's fault. I don't understand price action. Dude, the market always comes for my stop loss, dude. The market's hunting me. You've noticed that on, like, if you're ever on crypto Twitter, you'll see guys like, dude, the market's coming for my stop loss. It's all a big psyop. They're all coming for me, dude. It's like, no, everyone's just trying to make money on the market. You're just not positioning yourself well and you're getting fucked. That's the market's job, is to fuck as many people as it can. I mean, if you're doing really big positions, right? Like really, really big, then yeah, it might be advantageous for to grab that liquidity, but it's not, you know, not like somebody's just watching your account and is like, okay, he longed it, now it's time to dump it. He shorted it, now we gotta pump it. Was that James Wynn guy on Twitter, the guy that lost like 100 million in a week? He went on a big rant saying like, dude, they're coming after me. I did this to prove it to all of you that they come after people. It's like, maybe they did, but probably not. And certainly not now that you're not having, you know, as big of positions as you did in the past. Maybe they did to some degree, but not nearly as much as he probably thinks. You think people are just going to risk all their money just so that they can, you know, stop you out, just so that they can make you feel bad? No, they're just there to make money on the market just like you are. Now, if you cluster together in the same spot, then there's an opportunity to grab liquidity. So if you put your stop loss in the same spot where everybody puts their stop loss, yeah, now it's advantageous to take you out, but it's not just because of you, it's because you're in the same spot. It's like, why would a whale expend the energy and the calories to swallow one krill, one plankton? Why not wait till all the plankton and all the krill are in the same spot and then expend those calories to eat them? So, you know, if you're krill or plankton, stop swimming with the other ones or you're going to get, you know... Not easy to trade. In my opinion, trading is probably the hardest thing you can do. Obviously, I'm a bit biased when it comes to that, but the logic is it's the most money to lose and make. Because I'm the juiciest krill. And let's say that the whale, you know, overextends into a territory to go get some krill. Then all the sharks and the killer whales are going to get them. There'll always be someone chasing you. It's the market. It doesn't ask for feelings. Yeah, I mean, most of the time, if you feel like the market's coming for your stop loss and then reversing, you're actually on the cusp of at least analyzing good areas. I talked about this on Friday, but if you feel like the market always comes for your stop loss and then instantly reverses, you're on the cusp of understanding, because at least you've identified an area that's important. Now it's your stop loss that's in that area, but at least you've identified that area. Like this concept of like hovering versus, so let's say like you have a long down here, but the price is doing this. That's scary. Versus if you have a long and the price does that. Like this is how you know you've identified a good area. This area, you might see something like this happen, right? Why? Because everybody else is longing it with you right here, and they're all setting up shop in the same spot. Here, that doesn't really give a lot of opportunity for somebody to jump in with the same position as you. And of course, this is all relative based off the time frame too, right? Okay, Bitcoin structure got damaged a bit there. It is 1 minute structure, but a little bit of damage came in. We still spot buy though. Pump it. Let's go after that guy on Bybit who just opened like a 40 million short. Because we're hunting stop losses, right boys? Let's go get him. Can we look at HDFC Bank and explain something that's happening? What, you want me to look at? What's the ticker for it? I'll look at it, sure. Yeah, it's all relative, Svet. That's why it's hard for me to quantify. Like, what is a cluster? What isn't a cluster? It's all based off what's happened in the past. So, like, if the market hasn't been volatile for like months or something, then everything's going to be a cluster. You know? But it's really all relative. HDFC. That's a too long for a ticker. Oh, it actually is. Wow, that's a long fucking ticker. I don't know. I'll look at the chart. I don't know anything about this though, but I'll look at the chart for you. Is that low on Bitcoin ugly? Looks pretty good to me, man. I mean, the low time frame was a bit ugly. High time frame looks good though. How much leverage is in this bad boy? Is there a lot of leverage relative to the spot market on this thing? Cool. It's pretty good volume. 5x? No, not the, like, what max leverage. Like, look at the amount of volume on the, it's probably the options market for this thing, relative to the amount of volume on the spot market for this thing. Because that will give me a better idea if I can actually predict where it's going to go. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at this, what do you see, boys? Where do you think leverage players are going to capitulate on the betting that it's going to go up? Where do you think leverage players are going to capitulate betting that it's going to go down? You also have a void here, so you want to see this get flushed out, particularly with a spike in volume on the spot market would be lovely. And then it could dump like crazy, but if it doesn't, then there's an opportunity to go take out the top side. And then if this happens, then now you can hedge it. So you got your long from here, you got your short from here, you don't care where it goes next. A void is just like, if you go like this instance, right? Like if you go straight up, the logic I'm using is like, okay, well, if you go straight up or if you go straight down, what is the rationale for market participants to logically sell or buy in those voids outside of or inside of the chart? So like if we're purely just looking at a chart, what rationale can they use? Can they say like, oh, well, we spent a couple days here or whatever? Maybe, but usually it's also relative, right? So examples is just like, you know, go straight down, go straight back up, straight down, straight back up, straight down, straight back up. But anytime that you see like, so that's the assumption, right? Anytime you see the assumption not play out, it's usually an opportunity like this, for instance, right? So the assumption is that, okay, we went straight up, so we should go straight back down after we flush out these guys and the panic starts. But if that doesn't happen, then it's like, why the fuck did that not happen? Potentially an opportunity, right? And then, of course, the cherry on top would be the spot volume coming in. Seeing that leverage gets flushed, but then spot demand comes in at a pretty random area. Relatively random area. Would you ever eat a bat? Probably not, no. This is the spot. Yeah, I know we're looking at a spot chart, but the leverage chart is going to look very similar. There might be slight differences, but it should look very similar. Maybe it won't look one for one, but it's the same structure, right? Most of the time. Sometimes maybe a little bit different. No, I don't think I'd ever eat a bat. Unless it's people say like bats are really good, they taste really good. Isn't that how the fucking COVID virus started? Somebody ate a bat. Traxy's trying to fucking start another corona over there eating bats. COVID virus was an excuse to print money. Yeah, I agree with that. Any big event in that, like a war or a pandemic or whatever, is usually just an excuse for power to consolidate. And printing money allows power to consolidate very quickly, because when money is printed, who benefits the most? The people who hold the assets. So you get an even stronger consolidation of wealthy people during periods of panic. Well, if times are too good for the middle class, all of a sudden we gotta enter a war, right? It's all a thing of power and control. The issue is you can't redline. So redlining is like squeezing the middle class too hard to the point of revolution. So you have to, it's like a fine line where you can't redline the engine of squeezing the middle class too hard, or else the whole thing crumbles. And the later you get into the cycle, the more they like to push the limit, the more they like to redline even harder. I don't agree with it. That's why we shouldn't have a fucking central bank. Fuck the central bank. Yeah. I shouldn't say that too much because I don't want to get targeted or whatever, but come on. Most people out there, I mean, one of the things that you have to respect about the Bitcoin boys is they don't like central banks. Who controls the banks? What are these bait questions, dude? You're not baiting me in with that kind of question. No, you're good. But I know what you're trying to do. Boeing. Yeah, Boeing has the ultimate control. Hey man, you control the planes, you control the skies. Nice little recovery even after structure got damaged, and we had that Bybit guy come in here and slam a bunch of orders down. Alright, new 4-hour just opened. Bottom wick early, anyone? Do we legit have Sailor in here dumping subs? What the fuck is this world? No, I don't think that's actual Sailor. Because I don't think Sailor would listen to me to wait for the price to come down before buying it. And like Trexy says, I think he has an obligation to not do that. That wasn't really much of a bottom wick. I don't really trust this rally too much. You never know. I don't know, dude. I figure if Sailor saw me snipe that, he'd probably, you know, want more out of me than to just give me subs. He'd probably want to hop on a call and be like, how the fuck did that happen? Who knows, though? People that can only see the price going up aren't usually too impressed when somebody can call it going down and where it reverses. You can switch the pin if you want, champ. Whatever you guys think is good. But again, man, these are just random lines and arrows. The way he buys doesn't make sense unless he's obligated to do it that way. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. The thing is, if you get good enough with the price action, you literally don't have to, like, concern yourself with any outside noise. Because the chart always tells the truth. It always tells the real story. The noise always tries to bend the truth. You just got lucky. Yeah, I just talked about this one area for fucking 6 months. And of course, it's the only time I've ever done that, right? I've never done that before. This streamer just got lucky, dude. He's only done it once. He hasn't done it multiple times. That's how you know he's lucky. Cool. Tom is trolling. Like, we're all joking right now. The people that have even only stopped by every once in a while know that I was talking about this level for fucking months. Same thing on gold, same thing on silver, same thing on oil. The only sad thing is the Ethereum front run, right? Can tell Urban played League with how impossible it is to successfully rage bait him. I think you can rage bait me. I'm sure it's possible. What about oil? I called the oil dump a while ago. It's been a while since then, but... This dump here. Oh, this chart is messy. But this dump right here that happened in April. Also, how many people have been bearish on the dollar these past couple months? Most people, this chart would look like shit, right? But I've held the same opinion. We're very close to finding the bottom of the dollar. I was saying that for months before it happened, found the bottom, and now that's the plan. Demand a refund on the ETH front run. That's why I say it's so important to look at Bitcoin in relationship to altcoins, right? And honestly, the front run on ETH leaves me a little bit unsettled because what if we still need to go down and fill that? And if we do, then does that mean Bitcoin makes another low? That kind of floats in my head as a worry, concern. But I did tell you guys it would be beautiful if it lined up at the same time, right? Bitcoin tests that 89k level and ETH tests the 29 at the same time. It was so close to coming to fruition, dude. So fucking close. I mean, some people will say that's good enough, right? But if I'm being ultra critical of myself, it would have been so dope to nail both of them to the fucking T. Bitcoin up only? Yeah, Bitcoin up only, man. Bitcoin never dumps. Don't worry about it. ETH scalp over? No. This is the thing I'm telling you. If you think that front run was good enough, then technically it'd be looking for ETH longs now on scalps. But I'm wrestling with the idea of actually going down and filling that, because the last 2 times that happened. Like, what do you think, Tom? Traxy and the Brigade don't like Ethereum that much, so it's hard for me to bounce ideas with them off Ethereum. And they saw me be wrong about Ethereum at 2.1k. I don't know if Tom's still here, but... Okay, Latvian Sniper's not sold on this pump then. I don't like ETH anymore since it didn't make it a significant... Yeah. No, a lot of people don't like ETH because of that. ETH's been a pain in the ass a lot of the time the last couple of years. Especially if you're an ETH maxing, let's say like you're all in on ETH and you don't have any Bitcoin, you're just watching Bitcoin rip it to new all-time highs while ETH is just fucking either dumping or going sideways. But that's why I also think like a big ETH rally will be hated by the masses. Usually rallies don't get big until people would be really frustrated that it's happening. Same thing with dumps. New 4 hours got a nice bottom wick, maybe a little bit deeper though. It's not that big yet. I just think ETH is one big range, deviated lows and highs. First the range between 2.1 and 4.1, swept the low, then the high, then the 4.9 to 9. You think it's gonna go below 9? I don't know if I could ever see it go below 9. I mean, it's definitely possible. The way that ETH goes below 9 is it fails it here, because then the structure starts to break. So it either holds it here and now, or it gets one more insignificant low on the daily div. So either it holds it here and now, or it does this, or you could argue it goes lower than this. I don't know about 900 though, maybe 900, but because that's where the structure breaks, if you look at it like this. I mean, I could see if structure breaks, it could go under like 1300, 1400, 1300, but outside of that, I don't know afterwards. Yeah, it is. Yeah, nice. I can see that. Even honestly, this was kind of lucky that this happened because you already broke into this. But that when it does stuff like abnormal like that, it does show that there's a decent amount of demand. To be fair. But yeah, that's another good point, day 9. Traxy, what about this though, right? What about this? These equal highs are even more historic, because the equal low you're talking about comes to us from 2023. Yeah, but okay, based off the relative volatility, do you think 2% was enough? Like, how much did this one get swept by? Here, I'll use the magnet tool, let's see. Okay, this one swept by 9%, Traxy. Unless you're talking about this one over here. You're probably talking about this one, right? Maybe. It's really in Bitcoin's court though, right? Because if Bitcoin blasts off and the 4-year cycle doesn't come true, then ETH will follow suit. If the 4-year cycle is true, then yeah, I could see it going under 13. I don't know about 900 though, maybe. It's one step at a time. It's too hard to call it that far out. Let's see if Bitcoin fails 89. No one can escape the 4-year cycle. If something happens too frequently, it usually goes on the back burner. I'm not saying it goes obsolete, but it usually goes on the back burner. Like, think of any trading strategy, right? If it's too consistent for too long, you have to tweak it. You have to tweak it a little bit. Because then it just becomes predictable liquidity. Not only that, but there's always new dynamics at play. So what's the new dynamics in play now is the institutional money that's flowing in. So like there is some supply that's been absorbed by people that are not very likely to sell. Yes, there's been outflows lately, but relative to the inflows, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. Most institutional guys that buy, they don't like to sell. ETF nowadays are just exit liquidity for the OGs. Yeah, kinda, huh? I told you guys, if I do a meme coin, nobody's allowed to sell until it has an ETF. Maybe that's the same logic of like the really, really old school Bitcoin guys, but there's not that many of them left. And the ones that have held through all the cycles of Bitcoin, most of them are fucking max tinfoil hat. So it would take like outside influence of people in their life who are just like, bro, you should sell. That's a lot of money. And if they've been able to weather that kind of stuff, they'll probably continue to weather it. God, the Bybit guy's back again. He's still slamming the market. Like, you don't get a monster position without multiple times of seeing, you know, your unrealized P&L go up and down in a big way. That's why when, like, the other thing is, like, maybe you had Bitcoin from way back in the day and you sold it at some point, or you're thinking to yourself, oh, if I would have just bought Bitcoin in, like, 2009, I'd have billions of dollars or whatever. You're assuming that you wouldn't have sold it at some point. You probably would have. Like, be honest with yourself. Do you think you would have held it from, like, you know, let's say $100 to $1 billion, and any time in between that those numbers, when you saw a million, when you saw 10 million, you wouldn't have sold it? Come on, you probably would have, right? So a lot of it's just been like, you know, people have bought it at these levels and they're not going to sell it till higher levels. Or if they have managed to hold it for that long, then they're that fucking crazy, they'll probably hold it for longer. And nowadays you can get loans against your Bitcoin, right? Coinbase is introducing that. I don't know if it's already launched, but just like you can borrow against like a stonk, you can now borrow against Bitcoin holdings. What's BNB doing? BNB is just up and to the right. Until the fall of Binance, BNB is just going to keep chugging along. It's got garbage structure though. This is really bad structure on BNB. But so much of the supply is locked up. Even if you have a lot of supply locked up though, the higher you get the float, like the higher the price, the easier it is for active market participant to have influence on the price. This is true and applicable for any financial instrument. So like if you look at the stock market, for instance, most people in the stock market, like most people in the stock market, like they're passive, right? So like the float is maintained off the reality that it's in retirement. Like people don't want to pay the taxes, they don't want to pay the fees of taking out their 401k, and then, you know, the short-term capital gain, all that kind of stuff that sort of blockades and puts a lot of people as passive holders. But even with that being true, we still get dumps on the S&P of, like, you know, in this instance, 4%. It's because the active market participants have significant amount of influence once the price gets to a certain, once it gets high enough. And the higher you go, the more influence they will have. because it becomes harder to maintain the float. It becomes more expensive to keep the price where it's at. And it becomes easier for active market participants to knock it down. That's why there's an ebb and a flow in every market. That's why every market goes up and every market goes down. It's a lot easier for active market participants to knock the price of the S&P down than say it was like in even 2008. You do have to factor in inflation as well, but that's just the general sense of, that's why there's ups and downs. You go up high enough, it's easier for bears to push it down, because it's harder for bulls to maintain where it's at. What happened to the mega whale wallets that started moving during the summer? There's always gonna, every time you get a new like high on Bitcoin, you'll get some OGs that sell. But how OG is an OG? Is it somebody that bought Bitcoin in 2009, or do we consider OGs 2013 now? And in 10 years, will we consider OGs the people that are buying right now? Well, yeah, like OG is relative to how long it's been around. Like if you look at the stock market, the real OGs of the stock market are dead and gone. Their grandkids probably sold off their holdings. Like, you think there's any OGs left from the Great Depression besides Warren Buffett that are still holding? Maybe, but not very many. Or what about here from 18? Here's the Dow Jones, right? You think there's people from 1897 that still have holdings? Well, at some point their kids fucking sold their holdings. Or their grandkids. Or the generation after that. Or the generation, you know, and that's one of the things about like the free market. People say like, oh, generational wealth, like it's unfair, nepotism, it's unfair. Well, a lot of the time the money gets given back to the market. I mean, how many families from the late 1800s still have the stranglehold that they had back then? Or even remotely close? Because the money gets cycled back in. It might take a long time, and particularly with the way trusts work and the way that inflation has had ramifications, there is more. You're going to have more generational wealth. That's true. It's going to be more prevalent than it has been in the past. But the way the free market works is, you know, if you have grandpa who builds the legacy, you have dad who maintains the legacy, and then you have the grandson who blows it on hookers and cocaine. If you can survive the third cycle, you usually can go pretty far. But if you can survive the third generation, you can usually go pretty far. Second guy doesn't maintain huge. Well, that could be the case too. You could have the second generation actually build even more. That's true. It's not this black and white. You're right about that. I'm making it seem very black and white. That's not the case. There's definitely, you know, differences for sure. But let's look at the North Korean family. The North Korean family, right? Grandpa builds the legacy, dad maintains it. And now Kim Jong-un, we have to see whether or not he blows it. But you can have second generation do better than first generation. You can have third generation do better than the other two. It's possible. But my point being is that at some point in a free market, it's likely that generational wealth won't be held for, 50 generations. It's just how these cycles work. It becomes easier though, as easier for consolidation to happen for sure. And again, one of the big issues of that is the central bank. It's much easier to consolidate power when there's big inflation happening. It's much harder to rise through the ranks when there's big inflation, because cost of living becomes insurmountable, and opportunities become more limited. They're still there though. It just becomes harder. I know you guys just come here for the charts, but every once in a while I like to talk about this kind of stuff. Maybe if you find yourself as the second generation or the third generation, and what I was talking about, maybe it inspires you to hold on to what Grandpa built. Or maybe you are the first generation, you're going to be Grandpa someday, who built the way. Maybe you already are. What's the lowest you see S&P in the Great Depression? Fuck if I know, dude. Devastation, though. I don't know where the bottom would be. It could get ugly, though. I mean, look at the rally since COVID. It's fucking bananas, dude. It's fucking insane. But yeah, man, I mean, who knows? It could go sub 1,000. I don't want it to happen. It does, okay, I will empathize with you here, Traxy. It does piss me off when people will just say, like, dude, you just have to buy the stock market, buy a piece of the market, like the whole market, and you'll be fine. That kind of stuff is like, that's true, but you're not really given all the details there, and they're important details to give, right? It's like, just buy the S&P, you'll be good. You just have to hold it when it goes down. Well, yeah, because every time it's gone down, you didn't have to hold through that much of a bear market. And the reason why we all think this way is because we've never seen a fucking depression. That's a whole different ballgame than a recession. A way different ballgame. 2008, you're in the rut for what, like, 5-10 years? In a Great Depression, you could be in the rut for 50 years. You could be in the dumpster for a long fucking time. And it was you that told me this, Traxy, because I didn't really think about it like this, but if you adjust it for inflation, you could be in the rut for 60 years. And that's why I respect Dalio a lot too, because Dalio, one of his big quotes is, most of the mistakes he made was because he didn't look outside of his lifetime. Or the way that he was able to learn best is by looking at stuff that didn't happen in his lifetime. Well, how many of you were alive in 1929? I'd argued probably maybe one person in here, maybe two people. Do I think we're heading into a Great Depression? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Do I think it's possible? Yes, I think it's possible. That's the fucking difference. People that don't think it's possible do not respect risk. Urban bourbon is all the rave at the retirement homes. Retirement homes got my stream open right now. Now, I don't want to call the top. I don't think we are at the top. We might be. I don't know for sure. But if I was to give you my opinion, I don't think we're at the top yet. Is it possible that we are? Sure, it's possible. There's a reason why all these old bankers like the bond market. It's not because they don't think that the stock market can't go higher. It's because they think the stock market could crash. This is too much bearish talk, though. Longs are filled. Pump the fucking market, dude. We're not going down. Pump it up. You and Trax have been great about historical context. Yeah, it's just like most people don't want to hear about this shit, nor do they want to learn about it or even look at it. So that's where I empathize with like Trax. Like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, I'm not just only a moon boy like that just thinks everything's just gonna go up forever. I get that there's risk, but you know, everything's got fucking risk. You can't just sit on your hands and hide in a corner. Everything's got fucking risk. At some point, you gotta play ball. You can't be picking grass in the outfield. You gotta fucking play ball. Can't just hide in the dugout. Batter up. Batter up, my guy. COVID was a lockdown situation. It's not happening again. Stop dreaming of dumps. We're not talking, dude. COVID was not. That wasn't a. There's certain times where the market will get out of sync, out of rhythm. Usually, that's fear-oriented things. Like the market has a natural ebb and flow, a natural rhythm to it. Every once in a while, a war happens, a pandemic happens, then we get thrown out of whack a little bit. But that wasn't a real, like, that was a fear dump. That was just, I mean, look at the recovery on it. You want evidence of it? Look at the fucking recovery. If this was a real dump, why was the recovery like this? This was not part of the ebb and the flow. Sure, we could have dumped a little bit, even if we didn't have COVID, but we wouldn't have dumped that much. This is what I read as the heartbeat right here. The VIX. This is the heartbeat of the market. This is the ebb and the flow. If you have a bunch of irregular heartbeats at the same time, that could be a sign of an unhealthy heart. So I look at this as the heartbeat of the market. One or two, abnormalities isn't a big issue. If it keeps happening in quick succession, then I get a little bit more concerned. So here's an example. If we kick up above 50 again, I'm going to be concerned. This is why I've said at the beginning of the stream, and I've said this a million times, the only thing that throws a wrench in the rallies across the board would be a crash of the stock market. Okay, so you saw here, we kicked above 50 twice. Why did this one happen? Because of tariff fear. Maybe we were due for a dump, but probably not that big without the tariff fear. If it happens again in this quick succession, that's a little bit concerning because we look at the relative past, right? How many examples do you have since 1990 of the volatility kicking above 50 in such quick succession? So 50 is here. I don't want to see another kick up above 50. I don't want to see it do it again that quickly. I want to see this VIX fall down again. If the VIX falls down again, then everything's back to going up and to the right. If it kicks up again, then I'm starting to get concerned. This affects everything. It affects gold, it affects Bitcoin, it affects everything. Oil, it's a volatility for the S&P 500, but the S&P 500, sets the path. It maps out the route. And the economists and the finance guys that we give a big platform for, they've got millions of people watching them. They're not in the fucking weeds like we are. You know why? Because they've been spoiled. They've been spoiled with inflation. This chart is just an inflation chart. Give or take a little bit. That's all this is. It's a stock market chart, but it's an inflation chart. And so if you're spoiled with this kind of stuff, then you just think, okay, up and to the right's the only thing that can happen. All you gotta do is buy and hold. How fucking hard is that? Why are you paying somebody to buy and hold for you when you can do it yourself? Your financial advisor is not some fucking wizard. He doesn't actively trade. He just buys a piece of the market and holds it, and you think he's a genius because he's giving you good returns. No, the market's giving you good returns. Inflation's the reason. That's the fucking truth, man. I'm not asking you to pay me. That guy's asking you to pay him. Like, me and a lot of the boys in here, we're out here in these fucking streets, man. We duke it out on the fucking active markets. That's way fucking harder to be a trader than an investor. This is too much bearish talk, dude. Now look at what I've done. Now everybody's scared about the risk. Come on, boys. We pump up that Bitcoin. Stick it to the man. It's structured a little bit bearish. Might have to slide a bit lower, but the good news is a 4-hour just opened, so we have time to regain it. Buy, buy, buy. Sell, sell, sell. Buy, buy, buy. Sell, sell, sell. People didn't have access to stock market. Yeah, that's also true. That's very true. Yeah, that's another good point to show that, like, dynamics change over time, right? You can't just look at history and be like, okay, it's going to repeat the exact same way. It does repeat, but it doesn't repeat the exact same way. $1,000 on the S&P? Yeah. It wasn't that long ago that we were at 1,000 on the S&P. And now we're at, what, nearly 7,000? Let's mark out the exact date. The stock market has 6x'd from... In 2009, the low was... Oh god, that's not a good sign. The low was 666. And now we're 10 times that. In less than 20 years, we're 10 times the valuation on the stock market. So that should show you how bad inflation is. The devil bought the dip. Yeah, I don't like that number being the low. That's a bit scary. Oh god. Don't tell me we topped at 6666. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a spooky number to look at, but look. Guys, I know this sounds crazy, but even throughout that entire rant, I'm still bullish on the market. I'm still bullish. Let's go up and to the right. Send this shit to the Andromeda Galaxy, as Traxy would say. But now you know why I say hedging isn't that bad of a play. And for the bears in here who are only short selling, who are only betting Bitcoin's going down, I'd say the same thing to them. Hedge on the other side. Why do you think Bitcoin's going to go down with that much certainty? Soft cat? The fuck is soft cat? The fuck is this? Is this the right one, Tom? Yeah, that's pretty bad price action. Looks like it's going to sweep the lows. Good fluidity, stacked. Actually, I don't know this one too well, so... Looks like structure's about to break. Like structure might break here. Yeah, this one might get dumpstered. Oh my god, this chart is fucking awful, dude. Equal lows. Structure held. You pop the top. Couldn't maintain it. Stacked equal lows again. Lackluster volume. So you got equal lows here. Equal lows here. Fragile market structure. This looked good. It looked like it had promise until it didn't. And then maybe a Hail Mary here. Maybe a Hail Mary there, but I wouldn't be too confident in it. That's like 1248 is the approximate. You have the stink bids ready, champ? No, that's sad, dude. It is funny, but it's also sad. I used to, like, enjoy watching some of these things go down, but then you factor in, like, all the people that got fucking hurt, and it's just like, it's not really funny to me anymore. I guess it is. If they're really exuberant, then yeah. Like I used to look at the Luna chart and just laugh at it, and then now I realize, like, a lot of people probably got fucked hard there. It's probably not something that I should laugh at. I'm not trying to virtue signal either. I'm genuinely, like, everybody out here has had some pretty bad pain in the market at some point, right? So, you know. They'll have PTSD. I think, yeah, Champ and Traxy hit their goals for the trading year. Depends on what your goals are. What's Do Count? Never heard of that one. Do Kwon? Who the fuck is Do Kwon? Oh, okay. What about Carlos Matos? Any BitConnect boys in the chat? Who owns some BitConnect before the dump? Yeah, Croc. Some people have percentage-based goals where they don't want to stress about the markets anymore. I don't know, I'm kind of a fiend. Just like you, I'm a human, I want more. I try and limit myself. I said, what's up, what's up, what's up? BitConnect! I don't know if me imitating his accent is racist or not. I guess it doesn't fucking matter. Alright. That was enough Doom talk. You know what time it is now? It's time for the moon talk. Hey, hey, hey. My name is Carlos Matos. Alright. Let's... I don't know, I feel like Lil Bubble... We haven't listened to all the good stuff about Lil Bubble. Let's see. Here's Carlos. DJ, spin that shit. DJ Urban. Let me see. Alright, we haven't listened to this one. Let's see if it's any good. That was trash. It sounded pretty good at the start, but no, that's trash. Sorry, Little Bubble, I don't like that one. Okay, let's do, since we've been dumping a lot and price bounced off Price back, bounce off a pretty important spot. Should I buy back? Yeah, that song was trash. Sorry, Little Bubble. Normally I like your stuff, but... Yeah, that's an old school banger. I figured it's applicable, right? Bitcoin's been dumping a lot. People are wondering if they should buy back. But there's not that many good Bitcoin songs. We need more Bitcoin artists. Let's start funding Bitcoin artists. Alrighty. How long have I been streaming for here? Okay, so if you're just now getting here, by the way, the Friday VOD is really good for the traders in the chat. I did give updates for the more active investors today for Bitcoin and everything. But if you want like learning how to trade, the recording for that is free. It comes from Friday. I went through a lot of the details. Why are these songs so much? I don't think these songs are better than mainstream artists. I think that we're probably more biased because it fits our, niche. Check out the Disney chart. You and Glem really like the Disney chart. It's just stuck in a range still, right? Still bouncing into a range. You know how to play this, Tom. Yeah, you know how to trade this. We don't need to look at this. Rest in peace, Walt Disney. Walt Disney was a fucking goat. What is this selling going on? What are you guys doing? Okay, crack the bottom right here on Biddy. Let's see. I don't do mining companies or treasuries. Although maybe I should buy some MicroStrategy since Michael Saylor came in here and gifted me some subs. Maybe I'll talk good about MicroStrategy. To be fair, MicroStrategy is up 7% today. It's still in the void though. It has to reclaim this low here before it looks better. It needs to get it back above 231. Maybe I'll send my whale army over there. Bitmine. A lot of these Bitcoin-oriented common stock, they're just gonna follow. Ooh, this is really good volume. They're gonna follow Bitcoin price action pretty similarly. This is really nice volume, though, dude. Did we talk about this before it popped off, or no? Again, I don't buy this kind of stuff, though. Might as well just buy the fucking underlying asset and just buy the Bitcoin. This is like boomer stuff. I guess if you're afraid of Bitcoin volatility, but the thing about it is, like I said, like this stuff is going to trade really similarly. Okay, so equal lows formed, flush out the lows, enter the void, hold the void, pump it. If you don't pump it after the void, then it looks pretty bad. So void created, everybody's got the same invalidation. we can flush it. If it flushes back down to here, no bueno. If it holds it in the void, then pump it for the equal highs. Why are you guys pressing the red button, man? What's going on here? I thought we were Moon Boys. I thought we were on a team together, guys. And you're dumping the price on me? You're rugging me? How dare you? Well, we got some room to breathe, though. We're fine. For now. You made money on BitConnect? Most people did not, so consider yourself lucky. If BitConnect was still on Binance and was still on all the exchanges and stuff, I think it'd be funny if we all went and pumped it, but it's not around anymore. Although I don't know what kind of legal issues I'd run into in that kind of scenarios, so not financial advice. I love Doris. Doris is my favorite moon girl. Champ says gonna deep fry that motherfucker. Alright. I'll give you guys a game of marbles tomorrow, but I'm gonna call it today. Appreciate y'all sticking around, and yeah, go check out Friday's VOD if you're a trader in the chat. The update for today is in today's recording, which should be posted later today. So if you missed like the first hour of the stream, that's when I usually go through high time frame analysis. So there could be a chance we get another low on Biddy, but we would have to hold that low if we get another low, and it could get dangerous. So it's better that we don't do it, but who knows. Alright, let me get some GGs in the chat, boys. Where are my view bots at? Where are my lurkers at? Give me some GGs. Come on, view bots. Show yourself. Get in there. There you are. Let me see your name in the chat. I'm usually pretty good at remembering names. It is getting bigger in here, so it's getting a little bit harder, but if you show around and type in chat every once in a while, I usually remember your name. Hey, there's my view bot. What's up, Youth? Youth, are you scared at all with your top short? I do, Youth. I remember you saying when you grabbed that short, because I saw you posted in the Discord. I remember you saying when you grabbed it, time to farm funding for the next 2 years or something like that. I forget how many years you said, but you're like, time to farm funding for the next couple years when you grabbed that short. 30 years. The exchanges might be shut down by then. Traxy, are you gonna stream the markets at all, or you done? Alright guys, I might be live tomorrow if I am. Here's the Discord link if you want to get notified when I go live, if you're new here. There you go. That's when I usually post if I'm going to go live. I also do it on Twitter now too, but that's all I post on Twitter, so don't feel like you need to follow the Twitter or anything. Yeah, you don't have to follow the Twitter to get notified. You can just join the Discord, because I don't really post on Twitter outside of that. Maybe I should start to, but apparently I'm getting shadow banned on Twitter. I don't fucking know. I don't know if I have to, like, appeal to the support. If there's anybody here that works at Twitter or X, or knows somebody that works at X, can you get my account unbanned? I don't know what the fuck I did. Or at least tell me what I did to get banned. I'm sure we have somebody in here who knows somebody at X or Twitter, even though their workforce has gotten a lot smaller. Why do you think you're shadow banned? I don't know, dude. The Discord link doesn't work? I just made that link right now. It should work. Does it not work? Let me try another one then. Am I banned on Discord now too? What the fuck's going on? There you go. That's a new link. Maybe that one will work. I'm not sure. Jam and XBT, you knew about me on Twitter back in the day, right? Anytime I see somebody with an XBT in their name, I know that they're old school BitMEX guy. Alright, have a good rest of your day, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow, most likely.